Well, this is a Kilted Texan, and today I wanted to try to get back into flying a little bit. So I was going to take my ID4 here. It's pretty dirty. I was going to try to find a nice quiet place to sit back and maybe throw a quad up in the air. Maybe take in some nice views. It's right on the edge of golden hour, so you get some pretty nice pictures with a couple of these quads. So I got my old reliable quad here. This dude, she'll fly for a little bit, but we're gonna take her into this open field, make sure we're not gonna hurt anybody, and we're gonna throw her up in the air and see if she sticks. So anyways, I was kind of thinking, I don't know, I got some ideas going, and it kind of been bothering me here recently. Arguments against and for electric cars and all this other stuff. And well, I kind of come to the conclusion that everybody can come up with an excuse either to get or to avoid electric cars, depending on what stance they're on. It's kind of one of those, all statistics are made up, on the spot. What is it? 50% of all statistics are made up right on the spot. You can prove anything you want as long as you find the right statistician. So what seems to have been the case is, I got a buddy of mine, I respect his opinion, very smart man, but basically what he was saying is, he's like, if we all went to electric cars, it'd crash the grid. Well, technically, I guess that would be true. If tomorrow everybody woke up, went down, bought an electric car, as if they actually would have enough to do so, and hooked them up to their home power systems, sure, it'd crash the grid. Wouldn't be able to keep up. We all know there's not enough of them to do that. Right, at least right now, there's not enough. You couldn't produce enough to actually make that happen. But the other thing is that there's a lot of technologies that have been pushed around, and the other thing is that's also thinking I'm starting my going to charge my electric car from absolutely dead, absolutely charged. And people with electric cars rarely do that. It doesn't happen very often. People with electric cars usually run them between about 20 and 80%. In fact, Volkswagen right now, even on the screen, says, recommended that you charge to 80%, and it just helps keep the battery nice. And so it keeps you from breaking stuff, and it keeps the battery in good condition, and that's the way you should run them. You shouldn't run them to dead. It's not a good practice. So in doing so, the amount of actual kilowatt hours used to charge these vehicles would be significantly less than, of course, the doomsday everybody buying them, right? But again, if everybody bought one tomorrow and went home and hooked them up even to charge just a little bit, that would be devastating the power grid. It would wipe them out. So the thing is dealing in absolutes. What was old Star Wars saying? Only a Sith deals in absolutes. You can't deal in absolute. You just can't do it. Nothing is going to be absolute every time, all the time. And there, I was just absolute. But there's going to be a ramp up. There's going to be all these different things. The other thing is that technologies right now are evolving, which actually allow for bidirectional charging, which means that if I plug, and it's even for the ID4 apparently with a software update that's coming. I don't know that for sure, but I've been told that the ID4 will actually be able to have bidirectional charging. Now what that means is you'll be able to use this car as a house battery, kind of like a backup power system for your house. Same thing is in effect for the Ford Lightning. Now you have to have a specific charger to do this that is actually wired into your house in a particular way, and that is the important part, and that's pretty expensive to do. But the that technology does exist and it is being worked. So the simple fact of the matter is that it's not like this is a new thing and a new argument that nobody's been thinking about. People are thinking about this. They're trying to get it situated and trying to figure it out. And by the way, this is an antenna pod, goes on the outside of the car. It sticks to metal because I got a little hard drive magnet in there from when I took apart. An old hard drive. So that's in there. Oop, I forgot an antenna. I need to put another antenna on it. Oh my God. But basically, these are problems that have been going on, and even things like being able to identify, peak charging times or different levels of charging priority, let's say. So in other words, let's say, if I'm charging my car, but I have to be somewhere and it's, like a priority fuel stop, I should be able to select a tier of charging. And this is an experiment and thoughts that are going on right now. But I should be able to select a tier of charging that says, hey, I'm going to want to get out of here as quick as possible to charge my car as fast as possible. And of course, that would be the most expensive. That's the most expensive way to do it. And would charge your car basically at peak charging speeds. Right? Well, that would be the most expensive. And in doing so, you would have a vehicle that would be ready to drive away in a fairly short amount of time, which would be good. So that would allow you to have your vehicle charged and ready to, say if you're going on a trip or you need to make it home and you had a dead battery, etc., etc. Another level of charging would be, hey, a little bit higher priority, but don't worry about it. Don't try to make it max. So, okay, a little bit less money. The other charging priority would be, I'm in no hurry to go anywhere. Charge as you will and backfeed as the grid requires. So basically what that would do is that in the event that there was a large-scale grid need in a particular area and your car was hooked up, and think about this, before you actually select this particular tier, but, in a particular event where, maybe the air conditioning units downtown in a particular area are having trouble keeping up. Well, then maybe you might be the hero and be a battery backup or at least a stabilizing battery to the grid in a particular area so that, people in that area will allow their air conditioners to come on and off and their computers to stay on. And it would basically be, hey, I'm providing this service. So that would be the cheapest and honestly maybe even no charge at all for that particular deal. Saying, hey, I'm providing a battery backup right now, and in the meantime, you're charging my car as a thank you for the service that I'm providing. So there are a lot of different theories regarding that, and of course, that's got to be something that's got, there's a lot of software issues that have got to be worked out to do that particular thing. But the thing is that it's a problem that they're working on. They're looking at these things. And they know it's a problem. And it's nothing new. Like I said, nothing new. But they're looking at this, and yes, this really is how long it takes me to set this sucker up to get it going. But the simple fact of the matter is that yes, there is some truth to the fact that, hey, if everybody bought an electric car tomorrow, that would not be a good thing. That is accurate. But it's also not quite as accurate as what first seemed. I got these RCA connectors. backwards. But essentially what we're going to do here, I'm going to throw this quad up. Probably need to get the battery plugged in here pretty quick so that I can get it rolling. Need to get my glasses off. Put goggles on. I can see what the quad is seeing. And then as far as grid stability, that's something that's always a concern. And at least with electric cars, you can start looking at point of generation or point of use generation and equalizing grid through maybe and a lot of people, a lot of the eco warriors that are out there are actually starting to say, hey, I'm going to be charging my car at home. I want to use solar at home. I want to have a solar array at home so that essentially I'm driving on the sun and not paying anybody. And of course, then you start to run into, hey now, the government's not getting any road taxes to pay for the highways because you're charging for free. Which again is another valid point. But the other thing is that, when people say, well, they're not paying any road taxes. Yeah, but it's not like they're paying any taxes. They're not paying any taxes on their fuel. They're paying the electrical generation plus the transmission fees plus X amount of fee plus the fee plus the too many fees fee. So if you're going to charge your electric cars, you're going to have to figure out a way to get the taxes from that or come up with a new way to get taxes. And I mean, honestly, I'm never a big fan of, more taxes. I'm just not a big fan. I don't need to politicize it, whatever. But, I think there are too many worthless programs, and I'll be honest with you, handing your money over to the government to let them do with, to enact certain things, that is about the least efficient thing you can do because the government is notoriously bad at handling money.
Welcome to Open TX.
Why, thank you for welcoming me.
Switch warning.
Really? Alright, we're all good. Oh, and that one off. That is not the correct quad that I want to be looking at, so what I need to do, switch over to the Fallacies HD red. By the way, this quad I refer to as HD red, or HD is in high definition red, because, well, it used to have a lot more red on it, but anyway, since I changed the motors out for these gray and silver ones, a little less red now. But anyway, let me go ahead and I'll plug her in, get her up on the roof, let her start getting some signals, and put her up in the air, and we'll share some pretty pictures. So I think what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of things that we hear on TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and everything else, and whatever, some YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, I guess we could call them YouTube twits. There's a lot of people that sound like they're really on the ball, and that may be more full of garbage than even I would care to admit. But they've got what sounds like valid arguments. We refer to that as truthies. Kind of sounds true. Must be true, right? Not necessarily. And not all the time. Well, we don't have any satellites yet. So I guess what I'm trying to actually get at is that there are a lot of things that we hear as arguments, but as long as they support our opinions, we don't question them. And it's a good idea to question everything. It really is. It's just wise, you know. It's just wise to not believe everything you hear at first, you know, at first listen, because the simple fact of the matter is, people who are out there, and more people today are getting their news from really invalid sources. If you get your news from TikTok and that's all you get it from, or if you get your news from Facebook and that's all you get it from, it's coming from an algorithm that has seen what you've clicked on and what you've seen in the past, and it feeds you more of that same stuff to try to get you to click more, because the longer your eyes are on that page, the more advertising dollars they get for keeping your attention. And there are more and more outlandish and outrageous ideas that come up and are put forward, you know, every day. And while they may be based on a modicum of truth, they are expanded out at, ad absurdum, to absurdity. And it's just not the way to live. And unfortunately, it happens more and more. And I realize watching the evening news or reading a paper or anything like that really isn't that exciting. But unfortunately, it is a little bit more informative. So what I'm going to do, I've now got a good lock here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and arm it up. Let's take off and see if I can remember how to fly this thing. Wow, it has been a while. I have not flown in a very long time, and I think it shows. Whew. Man, it's been so long since I've flown that I actually have a little bit of butterflies about flying. Wow. We're cruising along here at about 34 miles an hour. And just to let you know, this particular quad, this is one of my better ones, actually, with views and with video. And there we are, sitting right there. We're just going to take a nice, easy, leisurely stroll today. Man. Trying to remember what I can fly this battery down to 22 volts. So right now I'm at 22.9. I think that guy's down there flying a radio control airplane, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I saw. Anyways, you know, when we start talking about statistics, it was kind of funny. I usually say you can prove anything that you want as long as you get the right statistician. And unfortunately, I still kind of believe that to be true. You know, because I did this example once. I said, okay, look. Wait, we can prove that the rainforest is going away. And I think this might be what actually happened. way back in the 90s when they said the rainforests are going to be gone by the year 2000. Or polar ice caps will be gone by the year 2000. Actually, back then it was, we're going to have a nuclear winter and everybody's going to be freezing their butts off by, such and such. And of course, we know that not to be true now that we're in, 2022. And what I think happens, and this is just an estimate, is that I really think what happens is that somebody, who's a statistician, says, I'm going to do my research and I'm going to prove X. And they set out to prove that, and they kind of fudge their stats to do that. So let's take this example. Let's say I want to prove that the rainforest is going to be depleted in 10 years. So I call up a logging company, and I say, and I find the biggest logging company, that I can find. I say, logging company, or Mr. Logging Company, what is the most amount of, trees you can cut down in an hour? So what's the largest amount of land that you can cut down in an hour? And the logging company will say, well, all of our guys, blah, 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 we could take down 10 acres in an hour. Really? Well, thank you. That's what I needed. So you hang up and you say, wow, this logging company can take down 10 acres in an hour. Oh, and we are getting close to our battery death. So I go back and I say, look, this logging company can take down this many in an hour. So in 24 hours, not, the 8-hour workday that they're probably working, but in 24 hours, they take down 240 acres. That's, and then 7 days a week, which they probably only work 5, they're going to take down, this many acres. And, 365 days a year, they will take out X amount of acres in a year. Oh my gosh. Now, how many logging companies are there? Now, let's look at the fallacies here. You called the biggest logging company who can do the most. You said what was their best, the largest amount they could take down in an hour. And I'm just pulling numbers out. These are just example numbers. But, do you really think that logging company takes out that many acres every hour? And number two, they don't work 24 hours a day. They work probably 8 or 9, maybe. And the other thing is that now you're putting the biggest logging companies into how many logging companies are there in the Amazon. And guess what? You've now created a number that creates the fear that, that the Amazon rainforest is now going to be gone in, a couple of years. Now, I know that not all statisticians are like that, but that's an example. And then if nobody checks their math or nobody, quote, questions the science, well, what happens? You end up with some people who are incredibly scared and they become, obsessed about it, and they start getting sick. They worry themselves sick over this stuff. And it makes them sad, and it makes them depressed and anxious and everything else. And then the pharmaceutical companies come in and make millions over anxiety meds and all this good stuff. So I think what I'm saying is that question what you hear, question everything. Because the statistic isn't necessarily a true statistic. It may be somebody's interpretation of what they want to be true. And I'm not saying that everybody does it, but I bet you about 90% of the people on TikTok, probably even more percentage on Facebook and whatever, all do that kind of thing. So just be careful. Be smart. I can do it. All right, I'm going to go pick up my quad.